my name is Ryan Cam. Welcome back to the 1996 Project, where I will be reviewing every movie that I can from the year 1996. It's not a solo episode, but it's not slammed with 8 of them. It's a nice little two-piece this week. And yeah, it definitely screams, yeah, kids, we're going to see Independence Day again. But if you leave a like, comment, subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Let's just get right into it, starting off with Phenomenon. Phenomenon, boop boop ba doo doo, was directed by John Turteltaub, who would go on to direct The National Treasure and the Meg movies, and it starred John Travolta, Forrest Whitaker, Keira Sedgwick, and Robert Duvall. It tells the story of a man played by John Travolta who lives in a very small town in California. He knows everyone. He is liked by everyone. It's all gravy until the night of his birthday party when he looks up in the sky and he sees a bright light. The bright light gives him telekinetic abilities. John Travolta is currently going through, in our current timeline, a beret phase. I don't know what he's going through, to be honest. But back in the 90s, I feel like he was really getting on a resurgence. Like 2 years prior to this, he was in Pulp Fiction. We all know what that ended up being. And just a year after this, he was in Face Off. Battlefield Earth, yeah, kind of derailed things. But for a while, he was really cooking with gas. And here, despite the weird material, he's actually quite good in this. The movie tries to portray him as an everyman, and for the most part, they succeeded. Like, he's liked by everyone. He treats everyone with respect. There's just a general likability to this character that just really radiates throughout. He just has a rapport with everyone, from the doctor to the mechanics that he works with. There's a really funny scene where he looks up and he's like, the doctor's going to give me a happy birthday message at 10 o'clock. And he and Keira Sedgwick's character look up, and the doctor moons him. It's great. Keira Sedgwick is good as well. Robert Duvall is predictably great, rest in peace. The acting is solid across the board. Things get weird when you look into the story, because this concept is pretty weird on its face, because it's a normal guy who gets superpowers, and I feel like the movie is trying to ask the question of, if you got superpowers, or if someone you know got superpowers, how would you treat them? And it's a good idea on paper, but this execution was just quite wonky. It just feels very sudden, going from everyone likes this guy to we hate you, with like almost no in between. And hate's a bit of a strong word, I know, but the shift from like to dislike is just so sudden it'll give you whiplash. And then the FBI shows up because Travolta's character looked into something he wasn't supposed to, I guess. And I think they're trying to recruit him. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Everyone in the town turns on him, and Robert Duvall makes this big rah-rah speech of, he was your neighbor! And it's a great speech, but I'm just sitting here like, this speech belongs in a better movie. It's like Al Pacino's speech in City Hall. Great speech in a vacuum, but it doesn't totally fit with the rest of the movie. Ultimately, though, I'm going to give this a good rating. The performances are strong and likable enough to where I give it a modest recommendation, but with that being said, this is just a weird one, so be aware. Now, it's time for the quality to dip totally, and it's time to get into Harriet the Spy.
Gotcha.
Harriet the Spy.
Harriet the Spy was directed by Bronwyn Hughes. This is the first film produced by Nickelodeon Studios, who are still going, producing movies to this day, despite quite a lot of controversies, which I am not getting into here because that's above my pay grade. But the movie starred Michelle Trachtenberg and Rosie O'Donnell. This is based on the book of the same name. It tells the story of a young girl named Harriet, played by Michelle Trachtenberg, who wants to be both a writer and a spy. I guess you can achieve a work-life balance like that. But she keeps a journal of her inner thoughts on everyone at her school, even her friends. Some very nasty things. However, the book gets lost and it ends up in the hands of her mortal enemy. The mortal enemy spreads it to the student body, and she becomes public enemy number one. Yeah, I'm not going to mince words. This movie's awful. It's such a miserable little watch, and it's an hour 40, and it feels like three. I recognize that I'm definitely not the demographic for this, and I was also negative 1 years old or less than that. I wasn't even born yet when this came out. This is not my generation. I'm totally aware of that, and I'm also apprised of the fact that this is meant for children. I'm not trying to pretend that this is some great work, but it's still just a mean, nasty little watch. First of all, Michelle Trachtenberg, rest in peace. She would go on to do much better things than this. And she's just, I don't know what, she was just fine here. The material gives her really nothing to work with. Her character herself, not Trachtenberg, she's fine, but her character is just not that likable. She keeps this burn book, for lack of a better word, just from some very hateful things. She says, I hope the kid with the purple socks hangs himself.
How hilarious. How highly, highly humorous.
And when her secrets are revealed, she just gets really sad and angry because the students start bullying her back and doing mean things too. Like, there's this one scene where they're all in class together, and the toady for the mortal enemy pours a bunch of paint on her shoulder, and then everyone else pours paint on top of her. And the teacher doesn't really help things. She's like, oh, let me get some towels and help, but it doesn't really help. And my head was in my hands when this was happening. I was like, give this a few more minutes, and this is a Stephen King movie.
For one of the most thoroughly hateful movies of recent years, a movie that makes me cringe even when I'm sitting here thinking about it.
Rosie O'Donnell's in like 3 scenes, and she's fine. She's the only tolerable part because she's the emotional, she's the emotional pressure valve that just controls Harriet and be like, okay, Harriet, you can't do this. You should do this instead. And I appreciate what they were going for, but she's not in the movie nearly enough. She just full on leaves about a quarter of the way through, and she doesn't come back till near the end. I guess because Harriet needed to learn some lessons on her own, to our eternal shame and just general lack of sanity. And just from Harriet herself to the parents to the students, there's just no one to cheer for. There's no one to like here. It's this and Welcome to the Dollhouse. It's like the middle school. Like, what was going on in middle school back in, I'll say, the 70s or the 80s, to where it caused this level of middle school haziness or this general hatred towards middle school. I have to know, because this movie's horrid. It feels like people were letting some anger out with this one. Just a mean, nasty, just chore of a film to watch. And it's a good thing to know that Michelle Trachtenberg will go on to do much better things than this. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of any of the movies I've talked about? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.